Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Tuesday, May 10th, 7:01. No free flags.
Rain will start there and stop.
Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from April 12th? Any additional or changes that you'd like to see? Everybody's reviewed them, I'll entertain a motion to a motion with Dan, second. Any further discussion? All in favor, Scott? Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, you got the bills in front of you?
I think the only thing out of the ordinary on that is the fourth one down at $2,000 annual membership. That is for the My County Parks website. That's what that's for. That's
Where's that money go?
It goes for upgrades to the website. So it goes by your population for your county. So ours is 2,000, some of the bigger counties are up to 12, 14,000.
Do our reservations go through that?
Yes. Anybody have any questions on any of those?
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to pay the monthly bills.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
All right, so the policy manual discussion of the old business. I've got that first printout that you have there is out of the board member handbook. And I just threw that in there kind of for information. I have called around to a lot of different counties and talked to quite a few different directors. Most people, when they say policy manual, they're using, or they're referring to their bylaws, their employee handbook, and their park rules is what's in their policy manual. Then I have the next thing that you see there is a copy of, it's Lynn County's manual that I went through, and I just did a search and changed everything. Every time it said Lynn, I changed it to O'Brien. But I took out a few things in there that were about, that didn't apply to this county. But otherwise, there's an example, the only example that I could find of a standalone policy manual. And it's actually, reading it, it's closer to bylaws than anything. So I guess what my recommendation would be is that we have a couple of special sessions to discuss what we want this to look like and what we want it to be. And go from there.
I'm good with the special sessions. I think we need to move forward on number 2 first, so we have help with it. So that's where I stand.
I have a question, Tom, about number 2, because if the supervisors, are they going ahead and hiring, because it was on the agenda today,
Yeah.
that this firm from Des Moines, that they were going to hire, is that somebody that we could also piggyback on, or not? Rather than,
We're gonna adopt what they have when they're done with it. We're gonna look at it, but it won't apply to everything we're doing also. And I talked to Dan Snelling on that, because they had that on their agenda yesterday too.
yeah, that's
Yeah, and he said, you go ahead and keep going forward with what you're doing and get your site done. And then you're gonna have to re-review it once we get our site done, but they have no idea when that'll be. And it won't all apply to us either, so this, yeah.
No, I was just thinking, if this firm is going to be hired at some point in time by the county, is this also a firm that we would work with as well, rather than this particular person?
I have no idea. I don't know the firm.
So the way I understood it is that they're gonna actually adopt this Allers and Cooney from Des Moines to be our HR representative as well in the future. So the county is gonna be paying them a monthly fee for HR services.
Well, I think we need to go forward. I make a motion to hire Allison Dirksen from Heidemann Law Firm. She can counsel us or this board of what we should be doing to write up a bylaws and handbook, draft up the right policies to do what things right. And all the items we need to operate right. So that's my motion. Did we get a quote?
No.
Last meeting, we said we were gonna get a quote.
Yeah, it's $250 an hour. If we don't know what we're asking to do, it's pretty hard for her to quote at this point.
And who is this Allison Dirksen?
She is the HR for Heidemann Law Firm.
Okay, have we used them before?
Yes,
For,
that's what I liked about her.
does
So you're-
anybody have
She-
any personal dealings with her?
No, she took care of us the last time, she knows what went on before. So I think she,
That was a whole different situation.
well, but she knows what went on in this, with this board.
Well, my question in terms of, I guess, this other firm that the supervisors are going to be working with, is this something that we would duplicate or replicate without knowing exactly what's going on with them, for us to go ahead and do something and then find out that it's something that we could have avoided, or the cost could have been avoided by working with them as well? That's just
So
my,
right now, we have no direction.
I realize that, but we haven't had a lot of direction for a long time.
No, we haven't.
But I'm just saying, is this something that we need to rush into right now without looking at,
We cannot operate the way we are. That's the way I feel. I mean, we need to, we have no direction. And I think we've proven that over the last year. And I think yesterday was another good sign of that, which we will get to here in the next thing on the list. So, I think we gotta have direction.
Unbelievable. Very good. I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, my understanding with the supervisors that our board operates a little different than what the supervisors do.
But they want us to go forward, the way I understand it.
with the rest of the county.
Yes.
And I realize that, but I'm just saying, by jumping into this right now, with what is going to be taking place with the county, with their, things that they're looking at.
They might, they might not do it for 6 months or a year.
Well.
We need to do it now.
At $250 an hour.
Well, we know where we're at.
Maybe so, maybe not.
Well, we're getting some guidance. That's the way I feel, we've had enough problems.
Tom, do you know what this Allison's history is with municipal or government departments?
I do not.
That's the other thing with Arlington County is that's all they deal with is government. So they're the kind of the one in the state that everybody goes through.
So we're not going into this without our supervisors aware where we're at.
I realize that.
So, and I called today, and I know Travis, you got the same email I got last night at 6 o'clock from Katie, and I double checked to make sure they wanted me to proceed. And they did. So that is why it was already on the list, but you got an email at 6 o'clock last night, and so did I. I double checked on it today, and they still get it done. So, and they said that there will be some duplications, but we have no idea where they stand, and they have a big process ahead of them also. So they said, get your side started on what you're trying to do. And so we have a motion on the table. And I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. The motion will state, I make a motion to hire Allison Dirksen from Heidman Law Firm as counsel for O'Brien County Conservation Board to help with policy drafting and other items as needed. So that'll take care of 1 and 2. You want to lead us on Hannibal?
Yes. So we met with the committee yesterday. They obviously didn't tell us everything yet on what they've decided on the Austin property and the compatibility on that yet. But one of the things that came out of that discussion was that most of the things that we had in that proposal could be done with a permit. And I've talked to these guys multiple times and they've never mentioned a permit, that was even an option. So as far as mowing fire breaks year-round, leading groups to the cemetery, even taking a handicap accessible golf cart out there to the cemetery during the summer months outside of hunting season, and educational programs, and possibly even, they said they'd have to talk about it a lot more, but they said possibly even staff-led horseback rides would be allowed with a permit. As long as it's something that's led by us and we gear it towards an educational purpose. And again, I've talked to several of the guys on this committee way back when we were discussing this a year ago, and nobody ever mentioned a permit at all. So that was one of the things that came out of it, the main point that I got from some of that discussion.
So these permits are annually, or?
That's the way I understood it, is we could put together a plan.
It's not a permit. It is the management plan that we've been asking for this whole time, is what it is. So that is what they're saying, as long as we write up a management plan that works with everybody, including our hunting, and we're willing to work around this and it's guided, just like Travis has said, as long as we have that management plan, which is what we were asking for this whole time. They're gonna look at it, and, but they have no issues with the use of that ground. But it's gotta be in a management plan, spelled out what we're doing, and obviously, for the most of the people, we would be using this ground from Memorial Day weekend till Labor Day weekend, because that's when you're not hunting. But they would also entertain different types of times a year where you would have events and you would use it, but it's gotta be in our management plan. Which,
So the management plan,
So the way I understood what they said is the only thing that would be in the management plan is the mowing of the fire breaks, because the management plan is the management of the land and the habitat, and like when we're burning and things like that.
I understood it was all in one where,
And then we would apply
what you were gonna use.
for our uses with the permit.
that makes sense.
so either way, we definitely, from where we were a year ago to where we are today, it's completely conflicting from what we were told. So, and there was a lot of guys there yesterday.
Yeah, that was the entire committee, all but one.
Well, who's been guiding us wrong all along here then?
The people that I've been talking to were Dan from Woodbury County. I talked to him quite a few times, and Todd Bishop quite a few times. Those are the ones
Those two were there at this meeting?
Those two were the ones that led this discussion.
Yeah, they were the ones that I talked to last year.
So they're saying if we draw the plan up, we can use the property like we want?
With permits.
Why did this change all of a sudden?
I don't know where the permit discussion came from. I asked them a year ago what we could do on that property and if there was a list of uses, and they always told me no, they wouldn't give me a list of uses that we could do on it without us applying individually for each one, or asking for permission for each one, basically. And they said that it's for habitat use, and that's what we can use.
Now all of a sudden we can ride a horse on it if we wish.
If it's a controlled program,
It is.
then it's possible. They said they would have to discuss that a little bit more with the committee. And if we apply for a permit to do all of this stuff, they would review our plan, what our uses are. And from talking to them yesterday, it sounded like basically everything we had talked about, they would agree to as a
Really?
committee.
Yeah, I don't get it.
All along, we've been misguided and everybody's been arguing about what's gonna be done with this property. And now all of a sudden, they're just changed their tune that it's for everybody's use.
And this started before you came. That
Yeah,
conversation about that property was long before you came
Yeah.
and the uses of that property. So we were told several years ago that it could not be used for what we wanted
No.
to. So it's not just something that we just heard, it's been ongoing. And why the switch now?
And it sounds like there's
It's
still a
crazy.
chance they won't allow your plan.
No,
It's,
there's not a chance. These guys, they're,
If you have to apply for a permit, that means there's still a chance.
I never heard
they may
anything
not-
about applying for a permit. I heard you need a management plan. And this is before you came over into that conversation, which I asked them to have you and Dan get in this conversation because we were told we weren't allowed to have a management plan because we didn't need a management plan because the wildlife habitat stamp plan was the management plan. That was exactly what was told to this board many times. And I said, so we weren't allowed to make a management plan because we wanted here to make a management plan. I was trying to get the Sportsman's Club, the Pheasants Forever, everybody together around the table with you to get a management plan together, and we were never allowed to do it. And that's exactly what I told Dan, and he goes, that is your job, it is not our job to do that. That is your job.
when was this?
To make this management plan,
We
after the
talked about
February 8th meeting last year when everything
put a
blew up.
plan together
So,
and approved the plan for trails and fire breaks. That's a management plan that we approved.
so you're gonna deny that we discussed having many conversations about working with Pheasants Forever, the Sportsman's Club, to try to work together to work this out?
There was never a time that I said we did not make a management plan.
It don't matter. We know what we need to do now. And to move forward with this property, it changes our whole concept on where we're at and as a board and what we're looking at. And obviously, it'll change our supervisors' attitude on what we can do also, because people are allowed to use the property. So I think we just need to, this was a great team of guys out there and gals. We need to put a plan together. And I think the Sportsman's Club, the Pheasants Forever, these guys all should be involved. The Historical Society, regular citizens of the county, I mean, they should all have a part of the plan to go forward with this. And I said, I think the more we work together, the more these guys will work with us. I mean, that was very clear yesterday. They wanted a solid team. That's what I got out of it anyway. Yeah. So, and I think we can do it. I mean, I think the Sportsman's Club have no problem helping us with that and putting together. And they were very, very precise on saying the majority of the use will be Labor Day or Memorial Day to Labor Day, because that's when you're out of the hunting season. And as a board, with the help of Pheasants Forever and Sportsman's Club, I think we have to make sure that's our goal. That's what we need to, and I'm not saying we would have an event that we would want to use it, but I don't know how that would work to write that up, but I think as a team, our staff, our naturalists, I mean, they'll put them all together, they'll figure it out. You guys will figure it out. That was a great group of people. So, but it was completely contradictory from what we had been told for Kathy, and I don't know how long, but as long as I've been involved, it was completely contradictory. I mean, this was not a step yesterday. This was a leap. I mean, it was an amazing one. So, yeah.
Wow.
And I met people that I've only heard and seen on paper several times, and rode in the back of the pickup with them. These guys were great. So, if I was disappointed in one thing, it was we spent a lot of time on the handle piece, but when we went over to the Austin piece, I would think, for me, I learned a lot from these guys just walking through the handle piece, but for me, we didn't even walk on the Austin piece. I mean, we never even entered the property, so I didn't understand how we could compare this property when we never entered it. But they had their phones, they know way more about this stuff than I do, so I need to see things, they didn't obviously need to see them. So, but yeah, great team of guys. So moving forward, I really don't know. I don't really know what to say as far as moving forward, other than it's in our hands as a board and our team out here to create a plan.
So we identify the stakeholders in this property, or we'll do the management plan with the stakeholders.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that should be reviewed probably yearly, and all stakeholders have a part of that. So where do we go? Do we need anything on this? I mean, I would think we would need a motion to go forward to get something built in this.
I mean, we've got the basis of a management plan for the habitat on the property. It's all there. We need to know what uses we want to put in that plan to submit to them for approval.
I think that is something that you guys as a team should discuss, and we table it for this month, and we try to put that together. And I think we need input from our Sportsman's Club, our Pheasants Forever, our Historical Society, try to get some input from there and then put a plan together. I don't think it's something we should try to do tonight.
No, it's
Well, I
gonna
think
be
you're gonna be thorough.
It's gonna be several discussions.
Yep.
With a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have a pretty solid connection to that property, so.
I think it should be several discussions, but I think it should be a planned meeting where everybody's together at the same time, so everybody hears everybody else's direct input. And we get everybody working together, is what I feel. So, and it's not something, we haven't had a plan ever, since 1989. So it's not something we have to do, but the one thing that Dan, I don't remember his last name, said is it's kind of crazy. And you're gonna think, but he goes, it needs to be used the way you used it for 30 years. That was his comments, is you need to be, he didn't understand why we weren't mowing the trails. I mean, all this, I just could not believe this. But we can continue, our team can continue to utilize it that way for now, and we can work on a plan. I think this group of people would love to see a plan come from our county. So, but I don't think it's something we want to rush into. I think we want everybody that's involved in that piece of property to have input on that plan. So, is there anybody else here? I mean, there's obviously 3 of us here that was in on that meeting yesterday. Does anybody else here have, Travis, anything else that you got out of that?
No, I mean, I was very surprised with some of the stuff they said there, because it's not what they've said in the past. But I've also never been able to talk to them as a group and get all of the opinions together.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely shocked. And that's why I actually stopped him and tried to get the whole group together as one, because you and Dan were on the other side. And it's like, we all have to hear this together. I mean, and there was one of them young men, I cannot keep him straight, asked several times, where are we, how are we moving forward? I don't know his name.
Zach.
Yeah, good guy, but. So, that changes everything as far as this property and where we're headed. I mean, because we can use it. It is usable. We just have to work together with everybody on it.
So we have to put the plan with our list of uses together and submit it to that committee for approval.
And they did ask that we would review that every year. So,
And that's where we're trying to get with all of our properties. That's what we started this winter with several management plans. But there's quite a few of them that are partially built, of our management plans that are partially built and not completed yet. But we're trying to get there with every property, so we have a solid plan of our goals for each property and what we need to do to reach those goals.
So they're basically leaving it up to us and the public to make the decision what to use the property.
And then submit it to them for approval. That's the last piece of it.
and we went over a lot of those uses that we had, that you guys have
And
used
they had
for
no
years
problem with it.
with the horse carriage
Yeah.
around.
The main thing they didn't want was they didn't want open gates for people to go in and do anything.
Correct.
So they said, and they were a little bit hesitant on the horse riding even as a lead thing, but they said that's a possibility if they discuss it and approve it.
But they highly recommended not going down the steep hills.
Well, they said we couldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something Mark and I have talked about multiple times. We cannot have trails going down that. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
just wash it
terrible.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for us that were not there?
I'm just surprised that they changed their whatever compared to before.
I will back Travis up on probably the statement of, it's pretty hard when you talk to one guy here, one guy there. When you have this whole team together, standing in a circle, there's a lot of input. and they're bouncing ideas off of each other. It's very difficult when you're calling one, and he'll give you this answer, and you're calling another, and he'll give you this answer. It's just sad that it took this long to get where we're at today.
And supposedly they had meetings about it, where people were in groups.
Why do you think you had to pick me up off the ground?
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is crazy. And I couldn't believe what I heard, that's why I pulled the rest of them together, it's like, we gotta hear what these guys are saying. So,
So these were the gentlemen that will approve it?
yeah,
So they make the decision, and then it goes to DNR legal for final approval. They said that in the past, the DNR legal has always gone with their decision as a committee.
So there's a fairly good chance it'll go.
That's the way I understood it. I mean, as long as we stay within that kind of guidelines that they told us.
no incompatible uses.
Yes.
They made that very clear. I mean, they're not gonna accept that, we understand that. I mean, we know what that is, so we just gotta keep in them bounds.
But the times that I've talked to them in the past, it's been basically, this property's for habitat. Think of it as this property's for habitat. The compatible uses are hunting, hiking, fishing, trapping. And, yeah, it's weird. But there again, that's probably what they're instructed to say as well, being on the committee, or being a part of it, is you just tell people when they ask if it's for habitat, until we can discuss it individually, or as a group together. But, so, that's where that's at.
Anybody have anything else? Let's move on to new business then.
All right, approving the hire of our seasonal staff. So we've got two guys that are just out of high school, both have very good references. I've talked to quite a few different people that know them, both say they're very good kids and hard workers. So I'd like to approve those two guys as our seasonal staff for this summer. The Hudson Ullman and Leo Sells.
I'll move that we hire those two. Do you need that salary also included in that motion?
Yeah, we probably should put their hourly rate of $15 an hour.
Move that we hire them at $15 an hour.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Greg? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
All right, so the piece is the discussion on this truck. So basically, I know I talked to all the board members, but so everybody knows what's going on here. We had ordered a truck back in October, and at that time that we discussed that and approved ordering that truck, we talked about purchasing a 3/4 ton and a trailer next year. And I was just told a couple weeks ago that the truck that we had ordered in October is not being built until the end of this month, so we won't get it until August or September. So that puts it into next year's budget. So talking with staff, we decided it'd be best to try and do what our plan was for next year, this year, if we could find a truck that was compatible. So I called around and spent about a whole night searching on the internet trying to find a compatible truck. And I called to 8 different dealerships, and the first 8 that I called, the truck that we were looking at was sold. And then I found this one that's on this page in your packet at Edwards in Storm Lake. It is a Ram 2500 diesel. It's a tradesman, but it's set up about exactly how we want. They said that they would add in running boards, a bedliner, and a gooseneck hitch, trading in our red F-150. And they said that they would give us $33,480 for that truck. making the total price $28,750 after the trade for a $62,000 truck. The other page is from Dranko Motors. That one is a gas truck. It's a 2500 tradesman. Very similar truck, only the other one's white, this one's gray. They were gonna give us $25,000 for our truck. Their truck does not have the bed liner, the running boards, or the hitch at $28,995. So those are the two options that we have that I could find anywhere in the area. I called down to 3 dealerships in Des Moines even, and nobody had a cheaper 3/4 ton truck. Everybody has a $90,000 truck sitting there. So the main reason we're looking at a 3/4 ton is we don't want the seasonals pulling 2 mowers with a 1/2 ton truck, and we've only got 1 3/4 ton truck. So when we look at taking our skid loader somewhere, that means that we can't have 2 mowers on a trailer going somewhere, or we have to do it with a 1/2 ton. And really with those mowers being as heavy as they are, I don't really feel comfortable with the 1/2 ton pulling both of those mowers. So I'd rather have a 3/4 ton pulling mowers and then have one available for if we need to take the skid loader or the tractor somewhere.
I see somewhere that one of these is a diesel.
Yeah, the one from Edwards is a diesel.
That'd be a good deal.
My opinion is that one's the better truck.
Where's our budget at?
Going back through everything, we had $40,000 budgeted for that truck this year. And so this leaves us sitting pretty good. Going back through everything, we're sitting well. I broke everything down, and our standard bills after everything's out will have about $30,000 left. Between $30,000 and $35,000 left after and that's if we approve everything that we've got on the list tonight.
Did we go back and ask our supervisors for money back in February?
Yes,
How much?
13,000.
So that's the first thing that I say we give back.
That won't be a problem at the end of the year, I don't think.
I don't think we can go and spend this kind of money when we went and asked in February to add to our budget. I think that would be absolutely a shot in our foot. So whatever we ask them for, we need in our budget that we need to return at the end of the year. That's my opinion. But I think that's only right. So going back on your budget numbers, where are we at exactly?
Right now, we're sitting at right around 230,000 is what's in the budget left right now. So if you break everything out of it and include what we have, the 3 things that we have on tonight, it will leave us with $33,000 after you take all of the bills, projected bills for next month out.
This was budgeted, correct?
Yeah, we had $40,000 budgeted for that truck that's not coming. So.
You are trading a pickup in that's got 40,000 miles on
Big trade.
it. Right. I'm just saying that doesn't look very good to the rest of the county.
No,
So
but they don't know the backstory. Okay.
That-
What is the backstory?
Of the pickup that's being traded in.
It's in the email, but it's in pretty rough shape. I mean,
Why is it in such rough shape? What happened?
It was like that when we started here. It has a lot of marks on the body, it has a dinged up, a big scuff on the tailgate, and it shifts a little weird. And the computer's been reset in a couple times.
Who's abusing it?
It was before we started, the truck's been like that.
That's when it's abused, you say before you guys came in.
It's been like that ever since we got here. We haven't used that truck much. It's been a seasonal vehicle because
Right.
it's got a few issues with it. So,
The second thing I would like to bring up is the 13,000 we need to give back. We also need to understand we do not have our attorney fees budgeted for next year. So we need to make sure we protect that, because we have no idea what that is at this point.
so that's part of jumping ahead to getting the things that we were planning on getting next year now frees up some money for next year's budget.
No, I don't.
Well, it's money that we don't have to spend next year.
What are you planning, what are you getting today that you were gonna get next year?
The 3/4 ton truck and the trailer, we're planning.
But you have another pickup coming next year that you have to pay for.
Yeah, but it's $15,000 less than what we had budgeted for this year. So that frees up 15,000 for next year. For that truck.
What was it when the county said that they might take a pickup away from us? What was that about again? Can you explain that to me?
They were asking if we had an extra pickup for use in other parts of the county, is what they were asking. And we decided then in that conversation with us that we didn't want to give up a truck because in the summertime we use them all every day with seasonals. In the wintertime, we don't use them all, and that's what I told them, is we could probably give one up for 6 months of the year, but during the summer, we can't. And if you remember last year when we traded for that Escape, we gave up a 3/4 ton truck that we traded in and that old van. And we talked about it then, that we would like to buy a 3/4 ton this following year. So, I've talked with the supervisors a few times about being able to basically loan out a truck for certain purposes. Like if EMA needs to move the trailer and they need a 3/4 ton truck to do that, if we have 2 3/4 tons, it wouldn't be a problem to let them use it to move their trailer and then we will get back, or even if we run up to move the trailer for them and bring the truck back.
Let's table that for right now, and let's go through the rest of this list. You get a better understanding of everything that's on here. We can come back to it. So let's move on to number 3.
So the dump truck, that thing this winter or this spring when or actually it was fall, we went to go try to haul some gravel and the truck wouldn't go into gear. And it's now been seen by 3 different mechanics and all of them tell us that they can't diagnose what's wrong with it. So the one that it's at now is in Cherokee and he says that it needs to be hauled to Sioux City for them to diagnose it, and by the time we haul it, diagnose it, and fix it, it's gonna cost more than what the truck's worth. So he recommends that the truck be scrapped. And we checked around, Mark sent the pictures and stuff of the truck to a place in Spencer that does that, and they said they would go get the truck and give us $2,000 after they go pick it up. I think what they said the deal is with the truck is it's an aftermarket transmission. So somebody put automatic transmission in it. So they can't figure out why they won't go in gear. Mark's been the one talking to the mechanics and stuff on that. But that's the way I understood it, is that it's been modified
dump truck.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
This is a orange one we got on a state auction in Des Moines,
I was gonna say.
a long, long time ago.
Yeah, it's a
Issues.
94, I believe the truck is.
Issues with it in the past.
Mark, was that truck, when it was parked out here, it was parked, correct? And then you went to start it and it wouldn't move?
Parked it last fall, went in to go haul some gravel. And it actually wouldn't even turn over at that point. So, me and another guy opened it all up, did all the things we knew, jumped it, got it to start, and then it wouldn't move. And it wouldn't go into gear. Like I said, we called the company that had been doing the annual inspections on it. He came down after a while, spent some time on it, was like, I'll get back to you. Didn't get a hold of him. Sent it, somebody else came over, Tom. He was like, yeah, I need to haul to the shop. And then we ended up sending it to the place out of town over east of here. And they can't even drop trash, brought it out there. They spent a lot of time on it. Same deal, they got into it, tore it all apart, dashed us completely apart. And they're like, this is beyond us, send it down to Cherokee, to O'Halloran, well, I guess try this now. And then they ended up looking at it this spring, by the time we got around to it. And then they're like, it's transmission, you're gonna have to send it to a specific firm over in Sioux City that deals with this type of transmission. And he was like, but it's probably not gonna be economical. I really suggest you send it up to give Maynard Hague's a call and see what they'll give you for it. So that's where we're at. So there's been 4 or 5 different people have looked at it.
What do we spend on?
I don't get the invoices.
Yeah, we've only got one bill, I believe.
One bill that was for you.
I think they've only billed us, the guy out in town said he wasn't going to, right?
Cherokee says they're not gonna bill us anything.
It was like 300 or something, I think, this one.
Yeah, so we may get a bill from the guy outside of town, but I'm not sure.
When I talked to him about it, I was like, please let us know about anything. He's like, oh, he never said, I guess we haven't got a bill, and he made it clear that he wasn't gonna charge us anything or much because they couldn't fix it.
That's been at least 3 months ago they left there, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's been in Cherokee for the last few months.
So I would probably get a bill right now from them if we're going to.
How often do you use the dump truck?
We use it usually a couple times a year. I have talked to Secondary Roads, and they told us that they pretty much always have an extra truck. So it would not be a problem for us to go get one of their trucks and run it. And but basically we just have to fill it back up with fuel at the end of the day. And it'll be fine. So
So you're asking about just getting rid of it?
that's kind of where we're at with it, because that's what the mechanics are telling us, is it's not economical to fix. Not really economical to fix. So that's kind of what I'm asking, is what do we do with it? Do we want to just scrap it, or do we want to take a chance and send it to Sioux City and see how much more it's gonna cost?
There could be several thousand.
Yeah, I would imagine the trip there is gonna be a couple thousand more, I would imagine. And I don't know what that truck's worth when it's up and running, but hanging out a lot.
Paperwork, yeah. Which paperwork do you have again?
I have no idea.
I don't know how long we even had it.
$2,000, you're not, I mean, the weight of the truck is.
I mean, we were surprised we got it, because Vanderlei buys all the dump trucks that come up on the state sales.
Was there a list of inventory list or some kind, as far as when we got it?
It just lists what it is all I've got. We got the insurance inventory. it would be in file back at the office, I'm sure, is when it was purchased, we still have the receipt, but. I didn't look that up.
Mileage accurate on it?
How much mileage? Just over 50,000. According to the odometer.
Thought there'd be more than that, 'cause it used to be a plow truck.
Someone said it was a city truck for some town, small town, I think, for a while.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell if it's got the original dash in it or anything at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a stupid question. If the transmission's the problem, it's an Allison automatic. I got two of them. I'll sell you one for $250. And just take that transmission out, put an Allison in it. It's only a 4-speed, but it would make the truck run.
You wanna own it?
I got an old dump truck too. I bought from the city of Sutherland, and I give like $1,500 for it. We use it about 3 times a year, and as long as it runs and drives, I mean, you're not going down the road. He had the best, I'd just borrow one from the county.
Yeah,
Why own one?
but we still gotta get rid of this. You want another one?
No, not for $2,000. Don't you understand? I was trying to get out of work.
But you have the transmission. Okay. If we don't need it, don't want it,
Scrap it.
make a motion.
Make a motion, get rid of it, Travis.
I'll second.
Dan? Jack seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Alright.
Pose same sign. Dump truck's gone. So that goes automatically back to our county, correct?
Number 4, the purchase of a trailer. So like we talked about a while back, with the flat gooseneck that we have right now, it's a little hairy driving that skid loader on and off of it. And we talked about when we bought the skid loader, trying to purchase a tilt bed trailer to eliminate that hazard of slipping on ramps and things like that. So I called up to Sheldon and talked to them. They have a 24-foot tilt bed trailer with a 16-foot tilt available on their lot. So that has the 8-foot flat on the front, which is what we had talked about that we wanted, so we could set our buckets and everything on the front and strap them down when we want to take the skid loader somewhere. And then the 16-foot. If you look at the next page in your packet, that's the cost on that and everything that it is. So it's a mid-Silva brand tilt bed trailer, 83 inches wide, 24-foot long, with a 10,000-pound jack, rub rail, 8,000-pound axles with self-adjust electric brakes, LED lighting, treated wood deck.
Knock another 3,000 off what we're getting for the truck.
Yeah, we can't keep that.
You don't get that.
But, so,
What's a cumulative axles? Is that low fill?
I'm not sure.
I wanna know if the bearings are oil filled or if they're greased.
I have to search what that is to see. I don't know if I have service in here to look that up or not.
The only reason I'm saying that is, it would be nice if they were oil. Cause then you can walk by, you can look, you don't need to pack them. They're a sight glass. Has anybody looked at this trailer?
I have not, but I'm clear to look at it.
I would think with 8,000-pound axles, it would be oil.
What's the skid loader weigh?
16,000, I believe. If I remember right.
You got a 17.6 gross vehicle weight.
Would your trailer be strong enough to do that with 8,000-pound axles? In theory, no.
You're pushing it to the limit.
Yeah.
Look up the weight, I don't think it weighs that much.
I don't think it was that much.
No. 9 maybe.
I was 7 or 10. I think. I can look it up.
Yeah, I might be off.
I should have done that before I come, but
I thought I looked it up the other day, and I might be off.
This has got single tires or duals on the axle.
single. I do believe that would be oil, but it would be really nice to know, because it would save us a lot of service here too, to just walk by and look at the oil.
Operating weight on the loader is 10,250 pounds.
Yeah, it looks like, well, I guess it might be oil.
Probably what the active is, isn't it?
What was the oil back in town?
Yeah, mine's with 2 more. Yep. So do we need the big trailer?
I don't think so.
The gooseneck?
I mean, really, I think this one would do everything we need for hauling.
Could we trade the gooseneck in? We're not gonna use it.
That's the only way we'll keep money out of it, because we don't get anything out of the dump truck.
Yeah, so,
I'm just asking, we have a tractor down by Peterson, we have a tractor here. We can drive them tractors, I don't know how fast they go, but you could drive them tractors from place to place if we had to.
and I think this one would probably be all right on that tilt bed. That's a.
The only thing that's gonna get you is the tire width.
Is that over 83?
I don't know, it could be very well, it's a big enough tractor that it's, that's what's gonna get you, because you can't get far enough forward to get it to retilt.
Okay.
Then you're over fenders. I totally agree, it's doable to put that skid loader on that tall trailer, but it is dangerous.
So the tractor weight is, with the loader is about 9,000 pounds.
Working that trailer too, it's just the width is what's gonna get you.
Yeah, I would farm for that. So, I didn't get a quote on what it would be if we traded that trailer in, but we definitely could. Or if we want to keep that trailer for a year, keep both of them for a year and see if we're gonna use them both ever. It's not likely, but because even hauling lumber and things like that, if we need it, we can use the tilt bed.
Let's see what they would give us for the gooseneck. Could we sell it? The money has to come to us anyway. We just walk right in.
The only other thing I was kind of kicking around is if we were to trade it for a bigger dump trailer in the future. Because a bigger dump trailer would be nice a lot of times than what we've got. It'd be nice if we could pull the skid loader with the grapple into a dump trailer and go somewhere, load it with brush, haul it, dump it, and then when we're done for the day, load the skid loader back up and come back. And I think we could get one that's wide enough for the grapple bucket. I don't think you could probably get one wide enough for the regular bucket. But that was just something I was kind of kicking around as an option.
let's table that. Let's move to the next one. We're gonna go back up. What's number 5?
Number 5 is, tree service for Mill Creek Park. So basically how this got started is, we've got about 8 ash trees in the campground that progressed a lot faster than we thought they would. And we've been discussing trying to get a lift. And we've had so much wind this year that we haven't really had good days with time to do it. Because going up in a lift with anything over 15 to 20 mile an hour winds is pretty hairy. So I called Schwabach Tree Service to see what they would charge us to do those 8 trees. He came in and he started looking around, and his first question was, what if I quoted you for a day's worth of work with his new excavator piece of equipment? It's a wheeled excavator that just reaches up, grabs the part of the tree, cuts it off, and then sets it down in the truck. And so he said he would come in for a day and cut as many trees as he could in a day that we marked out for him. And the price he quoted us was $6,250. He said he could do approximately, of those bigger trees, the bigger ones like we were talking, he could do 16 to 18 of them in a day with that piece of equipment. And that's grinding the stumps, hauling them back to our dump and everything. So normally a tree that size is going to be around $1,000 per tree. So we thought that was pretty good. Well, then later on that night, he called me and he said, what if I gave you a price for every ash tree in the park? And I said, well, what's your number? I can run it by the board. And he said $14,000 is what he would do right now to come in over the next 2 weeks and take down all of the ash trees, haul them out, grind the stumps, and be done. And I think that for us, over the next couple of years doing that is going to be a few months worth of work, along with probably $2,500 worth of rental fees by the time we're done. Getting a lift a few different times and the sump around here a few different times.
Wear and tear on the equipment.
And a lot of fuel and a lot of time cutting, a lot of labor. So there will definitely be a little bit of kickback from the community if we do that. But I think if we put some posts out and explain to people that these trees don't really have any more than about 2 to 3 years left and they're going to be completely dead and they are a hazard tree, hopefully everybody understands that.
How many trees you talking?
In the mowed area of the park is 64 from what I counted.
Wow.
Don't be any trees left.
Yeah.
There will be a lot left. I mean, that's, I would
How
say
many have you taken down?
we've taken down about that total. And really, from the people that were really giving us a hard time when we took those down before, I've talked to a couple of them and said, what do you think of how it looks now? And they've all said, looks great. So really, if you didn't have like a favorite tree that you were sitting under that happened to be one that we took down, it's not all that noticeable in the canopy and how much shade is out there. But again, the thing is that these trees have not very much time left. They have progressed so much faster than I expected. We just walked through and looked at some of them, and there's some that are, the top is 2/3 dead, 3/4 dead on a lot of them out there. And we saw in that windstorm last year how many ash trees came down. Of all the trees that, all the tops that came down in that windstorm, it was over 80% ash. It was a lot of ash trees. Those things get so brittle when this bug gets them progressed this far that they break very easily. So, but he also included with this, and so it's the 64 trees in the park, and then it's there's 15 to 20 behind our shop. that we were planning on taking down, so we have a bigger area to park our trailers and stuff back there. And he said he'd take all those as well, and grandstones. So,
Are they all ash?
yes.
You just have to fill the holes and seed grass.
Yep, so that'd be the only thing we'd have to do is rake up anything that falls as he's setting it in the trailer. He said he wouldn't do all of the cleanup work and the reseeding. We'd have to pick up the little branches that are left and then fill the holes with dirt and grass seed.
We're gonna catch up.
We're gonna catch it no matter what. We do a little bit at a time, we're gonna catch it, keep catching it. We're just
Get it all done,
Get
take
it
it,
done.
so
It's
it's
actually worse out there than what I thought.
it's inevitable.
And I think
When you
people,
take that gut through to the playground, there's no be a tree left in the center.
yeah, there's one area right there that is, it's gonna take a hit. The rest of the park, a lot of it, you won't even notice that we took the trees out. It's that one area from the playground this way over to the volleyball court is mostly ash. I think there's only 2 trees left in that area that aren't ash.
So what's our plan to plant 64 more new trees?
We've already planted about 80, and I intend to do at least another 40 this year, was kind of what our intention was. We weren't gonna plant anything more. We planted how many yesterday?
20, roughly 20.
Yeah, we weren't gonna plant any more this spring, but, I mean, we sure could. It's just, it gets to be a lot of work to water them if we get another drought year. But it's a good part of the day for us to be able to go around and water trees if we have to do that twice a week again. But we've planted more than we've taken down at this point.
We've got the money for it.
So let's go back to our budget, our numbers. You gonna run them by me again?
So, like I said, projecting what we've spent this month, next month, and salaries, all of that stuff coming out, if we approve these 3 things, we would have about $33,000 left.
And we're giving 13 back.
So that would put us at 20. That would be left. And that's including all of our utilities, projected utilities for next month, and expenses for next month.
That's 14,000 here.
That's what he said, and I called him after we had that discussion and said, could we do it in 2 pieces? And he said, it's kind of a gamble for him because he didn't actually assess every tree and how much time it would take to do it. And he's got a little bit of time right now, but he's very booked all the way to the end of October. So he said he would do it in 2 pieces, but he'd have to add about $4,000 total. So, just because he's got time right now that he can do it, and if we wait, he doesn't really have time, and he's taking a gamble on how much time it's actually going to take.
See,
It's not saying one.
So what you're telling me is if we spend this money and we don't trade our trailer in,
Yes,
we're gonna have $30,000 left to give back to the county.
yes. And obviously, that's estimating what our costs, our utilities and everything are for the next month, but that's what I believe we'll have left is right about that 33,000 is what.
And I see New Rock out there, is that in on that?
Yes.
I guess, I'm not for it unless we're going to give that $30,000 back. Because we're gonna need it for our attorney fees and we're gonna need it because we took money from them.
Well, I would like to do this trunk before we do trees, or all trees.
So that
I don't
amount
agree
that,
with that. Because there's a liability out there that you expressed to me
yeah.
that we're liable for because they're a hazard.
So that 33,000 that we have left includes if we did all three of these things tonight. That's the truck, the trailer, and the tree service.
I get where you're at on the truck, but the liability is a huge deal. Especially now that it's at the board meeting and we've discussed it.
Yes.
Now we're,
The ones that are over campsites definitely need to come down. So my recommendation is we either do it one day for the 6,000 or we do everything for the 14.
So in one day, use it how many?
He said of those big trees, he could probably do 16 to 18.
18 or 8?
16 to 18.
16 to 18.
So you're getting 3 times that much for 14,000.
Yeah, but.
And it's actually more than 3 times that by the time you factor what's behind our shop and that stuff.
What's your budget?
I want that truck.
So,
I just think because and the reason I'm doing that is the fact that we had approved it earlier. And so it's like,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
well, the
You got that truck.
half ton, it's just the 3 horse ton, right, I got that.
You got that, the truck you approved is coming. You're not canceling that, correct?
it's still coming next year.
So you need to understand that, the truck that you approved is coming.
Maybe, not until August or October.
No, it is coming.
Yeah,
It
he
is.
Well, it's coming when?
But he
It don't
gave us
matter.
a bid on it now, which means that it is
If you're
being.
gonna do it that way, we'll cancel. Because you gotta understand, what you're doing here is next year's budget business. You've already approved one that's coming.
I got it, but we haven't bought a truck for 3 years, so we're getting behind in terms of what we used to do, which was to replace those trucks so they were in good condition for the people that are driving them, we have young people coming in. So it's like, that's my thought purposes, because it's like, if that other one isn't coming in until September or August or whatever it is, then we don't have anything while we have going.
Yeah, we would still have basically the same amount of trucks we have now, we just don't have the second 3/4 ton. So like we said, if seasonals are out mowing, the red truck right now, the 3/4 ton diesel that we have we're planning on making that the seasonal mowing truck. So that's the truck that they're gonna take to the park, so they're pulling that heavier trailer with the 2 mowers on it will be pulled by a 3/4 ton instead of a half ton. Because I feel a lot more comfortable with that trailer behind the 3/4 ton for safety with that. I mean, that one mower is very heavy, that 1570 4-wheel drive front mount. It's a heavy mower. That's a lot of weight behind a half ton. And then you put the 970 on behind it, and you're adding another 1,800 pounds.
What's the other one?
I think it's 3,500.
So you got 5,000 pounds behind there.
And then you throw weed eaters and gas and tools and stuff in the truck. It's a lot of weight behind a half ton.
How many 3/4 tons do you have in your inventory now, Travis?
One,
Really?
yeah.
Your equipment list says you have 2. 2003 Dodge and a 2015.
The 2003 was traded earlier this year.
Yeah.
First number we're gonna deal with is the number going back to the county.
13,000, right?
30,000.
30 or 13?
30.
30,
13 is what we've already taken from.
right.
The rest is to help us with our lawyer fees for next year. I don't know what that's gonna be, but I'm not into spending money that, I mean, we gotta protect what we're doing here. I have no problem doing it, I just don't wanna come a month from now and we be behind on this thing, on these decisions that we made. Because 6 months ago, we had no money to buy anything. And I think anybody here can relate to that and they understand that. We were that tight. All of a sudden, we have all this money, and that's why we went to our supervisors for money. We gotta give that money back, first of all, that we cannot do it any other way.
What personnel that we did not have those costs.
I get that.
Got,
It's hard to judge that.
Which we didn't have, that's why we well, ask for the money. And I guess I'm looking at the tree issues here. It's like if you can take down the most dangerous trees. I mean, everybody in the whole county and the whole state is looking at ash trees that could create problems. You just don't know when they're going to do it. So I'm thinking if I guess I'm looking at doing the lesser amount, putting the other money into the cost of trucking.
Well, let me ask you this. What's the incentive for anybody to work hard when you got a $500 bid for a day's worth of work, but you don't have any idea what that's going to be?
What do you mean incentive or what?
What's the incentive to work hard? I mean, they're gonna get paid $62.50 to do as much as they can that day. They might take down 8 trees. You don't know that. One thing about 14,000, they're all gone.
Well, I've worked with tree ups before.
I understand that.
Very conscientious and they will do what they say they're gonna do.
I'm one vote, so
That's an iffy deal.
I don't like that side. I just think 14 is cheaper when I look at the number of trees. I do not want to take the trees down at all myself. And I think Travis can second that. He knew when he called me yesterday, I was not in favor of it. But walking out here, and I don't know, I don't like the liability of the hazard in the campground.
Not when we talked about it.
Exactly. Puts us all, if somebody dies, it's on our shoulders.
And like I've said a lot of different times to people, I wouldn't have to cut these trees either, but when you do a risk assessment on them, we have to. I mean, at some point, every one of the ash trees is going to have to be cut. And that point, I believe, is in the next 2 years, that every one of them is gonna have to be cut, just how fast they're progressing with this.
Are we liable for camper damage?
It's basically if it's an obvious hazard tree. And
Okay.
if it's an obvious hazard and it falls, then we could be
what I
liable.
asked too, Jack.
Well,
It is as long as we know
Yeah.
So how many trees could possibly fall on campers out of all these?
In the campground, I believe it's 18.
That many?
it. There's some bad ones.
There's some that are really bad and really
We
big.
cannot ask our guys to cut them trees down.
I mean, we were gonna work through them, but after this spring, when we reassessed them, they're just so much farther gone. We had a lot more to do than we had planned, that it's,
I don't think it's feasible to have our guys do it and the risk that we're gonna put our guys under, it's not worth that.
No.
Especially on them ones that I've seen over here. in the big-
there's some of them that are plenty big to handle.
that is a lot of trees for the money.
Especially.
We're gonna get in trouble as a board. We're gonna take heat, there's no doubt about it.
But, I mean, we could go buy another 30 trees to plant as well, to help ease that with people. And then we can at least say, we've got another 30 trees planted, again, on top of the 80 that we've already done, which,
The problem is, in our lifetime, we'll never see any, so.
they'll grow a little quicker than you think on a lot of them. I mean, you give them 10 years on a lot of those trees will be nice. They won't be near as big as these that are around us right now, but they'll be nice trees. Yeah.
Okay, I'm convinced.
What's that?
I'm convinced. We'll go the trees.
Well, how about this? How about we table the trailer for a month?
Well, and you can investigate that.
That way, if you pick what we get for the.
Investigate the trailer. We need to make sure we have $30,000 to go back to. Table the trailer for a month, see what it is to trade it. Don't necessarily say we're gonna trade it, but get that option, because you threw out trading on another dump trailer. Does that mean you want 2 dump trailers?
Potentially, it would be kind of nice to have a small one and a big one. Because the small one is nice for things like mulch. If you just need to grab it, run somewhere, dump a little pile of something. it's nice because you can haul that with a half-ton truck if you don't put a lot of weight on it, or you don't put much weight on it. Where if we go with the gooseneck, they can handle a lot more weight. That kind of takes the place of the dump truck when we need it. Just, we need to haul this here quickly without calling to get a truck and things like that. That was the only thought on that. But we don't have to do that, it's just something.
That's a long-term thing, that's another.
Yeah, it's just something I was thinking.
Yep, we're gonna have to take a little break. So when you look forward to these months, are you taking the months of, are you looking back last year at these months? Because obviously they're gonna get to be more as we get into our camping season. Are you taking them numbers?
Yes, projected utilities from looking at last year's, what we used. And that's how I came up with that estimate of what we have left.
Okay. So, with running them numbers, and let's say we approve this pickup, and let's say we put the trailer on hold for a month, we get an appraisal on what our trailer is worth if we trade it, not saying we have to, but at least it gives us another month, another bill's in. And we approve the 14,000 removing all these trees. You're thinking we will still have 30,000 left. Even next month, will they hold this trailer value for us?
I would think
Probably
so. I mean, it could sell between now and then.
Exactly. Okay. So-
They probably won't hold it, but, I mean, we could always have a special session quickly to approve once we have that,
Once you get
what that
that.
costs.
I don't give us a month ahead there to make sure we're gonna have money in this budget
Where
too.
we're at.
Because I am very adamant on, in good faith, like what Jack said, at an absolute minimum, we're giving 13,000 back, but I would love to give the 30 back. And they understand, we do not have money budgeted for this attorney, and that money comes back to us on.
So I think
And I'm not saying we're gonna need that money,
Right.
but I'm just saying, we give it back to you, you knew, you know we're gonna need it, and we don't have that budgeted in.
The supervisors approved hiring this attorney.
They did, they'll be fine, I'm not worried about it, I'm just saying, I agree with Jack, in good faith. It
Yeah,
it shows a very good sign to do that.
They were good to us, let's be good back.
And Travis, I'm sorry, but these budget numbers have changed so much in the last 5 months. It is hard for me to wrap my head around that we have this kind of money to spend when we did not have money to spend on absolutely anything. And I remember for a fact, when that truck was over here east of town, you told Mark, no, done. We aren't spending a dime on that transmission because we don't know what's in our budget at that point, you know, and
Yeah,
rightfully so, that's fine, I'm just saying, we went from being absolutely beyond tight to last Tuesday getting these emails, very hard for me to wrap my head around this spending spree.
Yeah, I was off on what we gained by not having those employees for 5 months. Our monthly gain was pretty significant there. And our spending this spring was fairly low for a lot of years for what it could be with, all the opening of campgrounds and everything. A lot of times we have several $1,000s worth of stuff we have to purchase to fix leaks and stuff like that. And we didn't have much this year. It was pretty minimal. So,
Well, I think the first thing that has to be approved is the tree removal, because I don't think we want the liability as a board. That's where I stand on that, but
We need a motion. I'll move that we spend,
Kathy made the motion
I'll move.
to hire
Schwabach's to remove the ash trees that were at.
Is that Schwabach? Kathy, we did
Do them all?
Yep,
14,000.
and I'll second it.
Dan seconded. Any further discussion from anybody on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carried. Okay, so we're gonna table the trailer, other than the fact that we are going to get our trade value in on the fifth wheel. Okay? And then you're also gonna ask if he would hold that trailer. And then you're gonna let us know as a board if he is not willing to hold it. Dump truck is done. Now we're going to the pickup. Kathy?
I will move that we purchase the truck from, where is it? Edwards. From Edwards
That's the diesel?
and the diesel, yes.
Yes.
At the 28,750.71 quote that they gave us.
We got a motion on the table. We got Dan as a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carried. And then look, what color was it? White. All right, did we go back to everything that we had here? Yes. Thank you for allowing me to jump around there to be able to wrap my head around it a little better. That was just up to you now.
Alright, so operations report. First thing is all of our cabins are now online. All of our reservations for the cabins and the lodge are all online. We're still taking about the same amount of calls for now, but it's a lot easier to tell somebody this is where you go to see the dates that are available than having to go through every single date they're questioning and telling them whether it's available or not. And I think, was it $8,000 the first day and a half that we brought in? It was a lot.
I think we're sitting at 11,000 for.
It was a lot the first day, and then it's back down. There's been a couple days where it's only been a couple hundred, but I think early this summer, we're gonna see a big bump in that number once people figure out. We've got signs up in the registration kiosks and things now. Next thing, the Joe Sim project is started as of today. So the water line was started last week into the park from Osceola Rural Water, but they actually got the equipment there and everything as of today to start putting in the water lines, the electric lines, and the sewer lines in the park. So that park is, for the next at least 3 weeks, we're gonna have to close it down because we obviously don't have any power in the park or water in the park yet. So we posted that park is closed. We have everything, all the water in every campground and everything back on. We had really very minimal leaks this year. We had just a couple of mixing valve issues that we had to get fixed, a couple shower valves, a few toilet parts, which for as many toilets as we have and as many showers as we have is pretty good. Today we got a few loads of limestone hauled into the park here and at Dog Creek. We're trying to get a little better stone to fill some of this stuff in where we get a lot of washing and hopefully get things to hold a little better so we don't have to grade after every single rain. We did a lot of park cleanup this month for leaves, branches, stuff like that. We did about 120 acres of controlled burns. On the Hannibal property, we did 62 acres there. The hillside around the Heritage Center, a quarter of the bottom at the Heritage Center, the Experience Trail, half of it, pollinator plot at Crosby, and then one private burn for 23 acres. We've had to do quite a bit of bison fence repair. this year. We had one bison that decided he was gonna find his way out. So one bison that pushed his way through the fence a couple different times and got out and decided that he wanted to run laps around the pasture. And we got him put back in every time and didn't have any issues, but it was a little scary a couple times. So right now, if you go out there, we've got an electric fence up across the pasture. That's mainly to try and keep them contained away from the, up by the bale, so we don't lose as much grass in the field. Otherwise, we got field trip season starting this week, and we're gonna be seeing a lot of students come through over here and at the building over the next couple of weeks. Last month, we saw 1,134 people in programs. So, really good numbers in programs and continuing to grow. So, that's all I've got.
I got one question. When the fire burned off the other corner, was that a blessing to clean that up?
It was something we were gonna burn anyway, but we don't really know how it started.
Well, it'll come off the pile. That's gonna happen.
Well, we didn't have anything burning back there.
Oh, really?
We don't know. It could have been, but we don't know how it started, but yeah, we were gonna burn it anyway. And the night that it started, it happened to be calm, so it wasn't a big issue. But the fire department did have to come out because none of us were around. It was a Saturday night.
Well,
But,
they cleaned it up and.
yeah.
I got a question on the limestone. Have you put that in parks before?
Yes.
You have trouble with it breaking down into dust?
Eventually it's going to, but the hope is that we've got enough sand underneath it that packs down in and helps create a base a little more. That's the hope. Because it's, everything we've got is that river rock and sand, gravel that we have around here and all underneath it all.
So it won't break down?
Well, it will eventually. but-
River rock don't, but limestone does, but, okay, I got one other thing. What'd you say that Dan's guy's last name was yesterday?
Heisel.
So the one thing Dan Heisel said yesterday in our group meeting is, he never wants a unanimous decision by his board. He loves to have his board split because he knows that he's got a working board. So I thought that was pretty encouraging to hear because obviously we agree on some stuff and we don't agree on everything, but that's good for us too. So now we'll open up to the floor.
I got one question tonight. What's the protocol for safety? Is it countywide or is it conservation is something different than the county? The reason I bring this up, we had an incident last summer when a lawnmower hit campers on the south side of Dog Creek. Travis told me that's because they didn't have the roll bar up. Well, that's put on there by OSHA. That should be up when they're mowing, when it's in operation. That roll bar should be up. And I think if you look at your liability insurance, it'll tell you it should be up when it's being operated. The next thing, a little over a month ago, I come from home to Sutherland, and along Dog Creek on the, I call it the east side of the dam, there was two pickups sitting there, and there was a skid loader working over there taking some trees down. Well, the first pickup was a red pickup with a conservation board sign on it. The other pickup was a maroon pickup with no signs on it, no four-ways running, no signs out like the county puts out when you're working alongside the road. The pickups were about that far from the driven portion of the road. I thought at least it was right down at the bottom of the hill, on top of the dam. I thought at least it could have had four-ways on, a flagged men working at the tops of the hills. I've never seen a county do a project that they don't have some kind of a warning sign when they have vehicles parked on the side of the road. Is that just conservation board, or is that a new county policy where they don't put any warning up when you're working on the side of the road? That's it for my question.
Can't answer that. So I don't think there is a policy that there has to be a sign. I haven't seen it in the.
Yeah, but that's something I'm watching you should address.
Okay.
Are you a county employee?
Yes.
If the road crew comes out and they cut trees down by my place and they're parked on the side of the road, they got signs a half a mile east and a half a mile west telling me that they're working on that road. They're cutting trees. I think that's the least, because you were there quite a while, because I went to town and came back and you were still there cutting.
Yeah, it took us a couple hours.
And I think every other county that I've known of, if they're working alongside the road, they got flags or something up to notify people that there are people working beside the road. I realize you work on the side of the road, but your pickups were damn close to the side of the road. You only had you even had the four-ways on. So when you're coming down the hill, you at least had a little warning that there's something going on down there. That was my only complaint. I didn't think it was.
Do we have any signs? No, we don't have signs. No. The only signs we have are for smoke when we do burns, if there's gonna be smoke across the road.
Yep. So if we do get projects like that, I bet you we could borrow from the county if we had to.
Yeah.
It isn't very often that these guys do that, but.
No, and the only reason we had to do this one is because of the dam inspection that with DNR that came in and looked at it and they said that we had to take care of the trees in the waterway there. So.
It's good.
That's safe there, though.
We appreciate that. So,
That's what we wanna hear.
Does anybody have?
I wanted to hear that.
Yes, Mike.
How many board members did you get to show up from the state yesterday and walk around with you?
Well, I think there was 11 and there was 3 of us.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think there was only one from the committee missing.
Okay, cool.
Do I have that number?
2 board members.
2 board members, yes. that's right.
Only 2.
Better than none.
I think the count was 11, which the 2 board members
Good.
were Travis.
All right, cool.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I didn't count everybody, but.
So,
How did you get them to come? Just say, hey, please come visit?
So it was from the proposal that we sent in a few months ago
To get them?
to discuss the Austin property. And then that led to more discussion, and then they brought me in on a Zoom call where I had to sit there in the waiting room for about 25 minutes, and then they brought me in for 5 minutes and basically told me what they were gonna do, that they were gonna come do a site visit, and then kick me back out and finish their discussion.
Very good, thank you.
So is this Austin property something you're going after?
we have no idea.
We're considering it.
I thought we had enough land out off the tax rolls down there.
We do. We do. To
We
be
do.
honest with you, John,
About
what we're trying to do is change the, we were questioning if we could change the restrictions on the Hannibal piece to the Austin piece. So in order to do that, you gotta get this committee together to review that. That does not mean we are purchasing the ground. We wanted to know if it was even possible, which we still do not know. It was very encouraging yesterday, but we don't know. But first and foremost, before that meeting, I sat down with Ronnie Jalis too, and I know that family is the one farm, and they also are interested in that ground. So that's very important to us also. It's a farmer that wants the ground. I think we need to also try to respect that.
No, I think, my opinion is we're about sick, we got enough. We don't need any more state ground, county ground. And you're taking 20% of Waterman Township and government-owned ground, that's enough.
We learned a ton yesterday with this committee. I mean, we come a long ways, and I think we can get a lot further with good communication, that we can use our ground that we have, which we were not under that understanding until yesterday.
I guess my biggest thing is, there's 600 acres of DNR ground adjoining me. And I wish I had a trail camera up to just watch how many people are there. I mean, it's like basically nobody. I look out my sunroom and I can see a reflection down there. Oh, it must be a car, so I get the binoculars, it's a sign they put up down there. You know, there is very, very rarely anything parked there. You'd be south of the Dutch Fred in that parking area there. I mean, it's amazing how there's nobody out there using it. That,
On the top of that hill?
Yeah.
Across from your flip up and down.
yeah, well, you farm that piece right across from it.
Yep. and I agree with you, there's never
No.
any.
So I expect a thank you from you.
I was gonna find you before you walked out. That was a big tree.
That was a big, but that was just
I
a
went to put
limb.
that with the planter the other night, so I was gonna get you before you.
I hustled out there to get that cleaned up, because he's gonna be coming here any day.
Yeah, you're gonna get more than a thank you, so. Does it, any visitors have anything else? Yes, Mary?
May of last year in the minutes, you approved a land management for the Hannibal Waterman property. A land management plan.
And what was that, Mary?
I don't know. It's in May, in the minutes for May of last year.
Yeah, that's when we approved the mowing.
The mowing,
Yeah.
Okay.
that was the mowing.
That was just
all.
for mowing.
And we
There's the
explained
mowing
that,
and the burning.
and we explained that to him yesterday,
Okay.
and he said, it was good, there's nothing wrong with it, that was our way of mowing one trail. And this Dan, which I can never remember his last name, he goes, you need to be mowing all the trails.
Okay, so did they have that plan that
No.
you approved last year?
No. Nope. He was asking, we were parked on that way, east trail,
Right.
and he was asking that we mow this. I said, no, we don't mow that until after July 15th. And he goes, what do you mean you don't mow it? And he knew we mowed it for 30-some years. And he point blank said, he goes, you need to be mowing it. There's no reason why you're not mowing it. I said, no, we can't mow that. And that's when I brought Travis over, because he was in another group, and he explained that, he goes, you can mow them trails. And he also said it was good habitat for the birds and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it was completely contradictory to what we were told a year ago. Or what I understood previously. Complete.
So the plan you made last year then that's not a plan anymore? Because you can just mow it,
We
or?
were basically updated.
I think that plan
We
needs
would've
to stay in
amended.
effect the way it is right now, until we can get together with these different groups and everybody involved to lay out a management plan. I don't think we ought to take anything out of what's in there, leave it in. It's up to Travis if he wants to mow before this grass gets completely out of hand. That's up to him. I think he could do that without,
But we'll still, so this year in that plan that we approved would be to mow to the cemetery and then the back loop,
the loop we were actually
the
sitting on.
loop that we were on. So that's this year's, in that management plan, that's what we would be mowing this year. So it would be the trail coming out of the parking lot, around the point, over to the cemetery, and then back around that whole loop that we were on.
What they don't want to see is us going out there making trails here, here, here.
Right.
They have no problem with the trails that the prior
Prior breaks.
guys had, at all. Boom.
So could you amend it so we could just mow it for the season?
And so that's the plan, is we'll amend it and then submit it to them, and once they approve it, then we should be able to go back to.
I hate to have go to them more than too many times. I'd like to do it all at one time, but I would think that between this board and our Pheasants Forever team and our Sportsman's Club team and our Historical Society, we just gotta get them all together, just like we requested last year, and get their input. If we're gonna sell this to everybody, everybody has to have input. So, and that is exactly what these guys, this team wants. So, but they also want it used, but they do not want the wrong uses on it, or whatever you call that, incompatible uses. And they want to focus on Memorial Day to Labor Day. That is their focus for the community.
Tom, who was the other? Had anybody talked to the Austins before sending 16, 17 people out there? Because you might want to do that in the future. I ended up having Liz stop at my
They didn't
shop
go on
today,
the
and she
property.
was,
Yeah, we didn't actually go on the property.
That is the reason I stopped at Jalos, is because I was inquiring if anybody had been contacted. And
they were called by somebody and they got upset. I don't know if you're actually on there, but I
So
could.
I talked to
They weren't,
Liz.
we did not enter the property, which I did not know we weren't going to do, because I don't know how you can assess a property without walking the property. But they didn't want one. We didn't do anything, which I completely cannot understand, but, yeah. I figured we'd walk the whole property, both sides of the river.
From a legal standpoint, though, it's listed with an auctioneer. I would think an auctioneer could take you on the property.
He could, but it's still,
It still would be courteous to talk to the
that's
landlord.
exactly why I went there beforehand and asked the Jalos family if they were asked, because they have the lease until March 1st. And that's when I also found out that they were still interested in the piece of ground, which they were not earlier in the year, but the family is. So that's very important to me as a board member, knowing that. So, but yes, it's, any other questions?
Who was the other board member present along with yourself yesterday?
Dan Bruce.
Okay. And there were 11 Habitat Stamp Committee members present?
No, there would have been nine? No, eight. Eight with Travis, our director, and Dan and myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and those aren't all committee members, one of them's their coordinator. So,
And Travis, can you answer this, because I'm not good with numbers, there was a Ryan. Correct, what, a Ryan, a guy named Ryan?
no, thanks.
Henniger?
I don't know his last name. He's the one carrying around the phone with the map.
Oh, guys from Clinton County.
And then they weren't all directors though, correct?
Not all, most of them are directors, they're not all directors.
Some were park rangers.
Yeah. One of, the guy from Clinton County, I think he's an operations supervisor, maybe natural resource manager or something like that. There was two of them carrying around the phone, the guy that had the sunglass line real bad, was it him or the other one? Okay, he's from Winnipeg. I can't recall his name.
I thought it was Ryan. I'm not good with names, so, but a great group of guys. Any other questions?
Maybe just one time.
Yes.
There are wildlife management areas all over the state. Some of them have a better plan than what this lady was talking about. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have good plans, you know, equestrian or whatever the heck you call for work. Please consider visiting with, I mean, some of them are not all county conservation board, some of them are Iowa DNR, some Fish and Wildlife Service. Anyway, please look at all of them, find all the good points and get rid of all the bad points.
Absolutely. I will say one other thing yesterday, riding with these guys in the back of that pickup. And Dan, I know you visit a lot of different counties, but there was that, I don't even know this young man's name, but he was completely, he would give anything for a piece of ground like that Hamble piece of ground. So, in his county. He goes, this is unbelievable. And we're sitting up there on top of that hill looking over that whole valley and stuff, and pointing in the direction where this Austin piece is. And it's just, it gives you good feelings when you know what you have. So, does anybody have anything else? And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried.
Sure, yeah.